everyone, it's Nezzle. Welcome back to my channel Nezzle and to another Nezzle Talk. In today's video, I am doing a continuation of the video that I did on forgiving yourself a couple weeks back. In the comment section of that video, I received a request to speak about forgiving yourself when you have stayed in a relationship or a friendship for too long, or when you did not stand up for yourself, or simply where you stayed in a situation that you should not have been in, or you allowed something to happen to you that should not have happened. So I really hope that this video will be helpful to you, and if you think it might be helpful to anyone else that you know, then please share it so that they can be blessed by it as well. If you enjoyed the video, please thumbs it up so that I will know. Leave a comment letting me know your thoughts on the video, as well as any other things that you would like to see me speak about on this channel. I do Nezzle Talks every week, and you have the opportunity to submit suggestions of topics that you would like me to speak on. So you can leave it in the comment section, you can send it to me in a message on Instagram, or you can email me at nezzletalks@gmail.com. If you're new to the channel, then consider subscribing and ensure that you turn on post notifications so you'll be notified every time I post. So looking at relationships or friendships, which are relationships, we know that not every relationship will last forever. Some relationships do last a lifetime, but many relationships are not meant to last that long. Some of them are just for a season in your life. Those persons come into your life to teach you a lesson, to help you in some area of your life, and then when their purpose is fulfilled in your life, they move on. Sometimes what we do is we try to make seasonal people or people who are just in our lives for a reason into lifetime people. And when we do that, we can sometimes cause ourselves a lot of unnecessary pain. We try to extend the friendship or extend the relationship, and we try to force it. And sometimes that can mean that we settle for things that we should not settle for, or we accept things that we should not accept. But the first step in forgiving yourself, if you have been in that situation, is really to just be kind to yourself and to acknowledge that it is natural to want your relationships to work. I don't think many people get into relationships or friendships thinking about the end or hoping for it to end. If you meet someone and you click with them, you start imagining your life with them in it. Whether it be a simple friend and you're just like, this person really meshes with me and we get along well, and I can see myself being friends with this person in the next 10 years, 20 years, whatever. Or it's someone that you meet and you fall deeply in love with them and you start imagining getting married to them and having babies with them. The reality is that as human beings, we crave relationships. We crave being connected to other people. We were created that way. We were not created to be isolated or to do life on our own. So it is perfectly natural to try and make a relationship work, to try and force a relationship to work. However, it is not healthy, because for any relationship to succeed and flourish, both persons need to be actively involved in the relationship. Both persons need to want it to work. And so if you find yourself in a situation where you have been forcing it, and the other person is not trying, the other person is not treating you in a manner that you deserve to be treated, then it is likely time for you to leave. And if you have been in a situation where you stayed after noticing those signs, and now you're either trying to leave or you've already left, but you feel so much guilt and you're angry with yourself for taking so long to leave, then I'm going to encourage you right now to extend some grace to yourself and to see that what you experienced, while it may be difficult, while it may be very hard for you to move on from it and to really forgive yourself for letting it go that far and for not leaving when you got the first signs, give yourself some grace, because it's natural to want the relationship to work. Having said that, in terms of moving forward now and forgiving yourself, a good place to start is to really just look at that time you spent in that relationship and ask yourself what you learned from it. How did you grow from it? Because as bad as it may have been, as much as it may have hurt you, you must have learned something from it, even if it is just that you need to avoid relationships like that in the future. So let's say you had a friendship and you really valued this person's friendship and you spoke to them about everything. You confided your all in them. You trusted them with everything. And then they went and shared it with other people and they hurt you. Yet you kept remaining in that friendship, hoping that it would improve, hoping that this person would change. Now, when you look back at it, what did you learn? How have you grown? Maybe you've learned that you need to be more selective in who you share your personal information with. Maybe you've learned that when people show you who they are, that you should believe them and not keep trying to change them. Whatever the case may be, see what you have learned from it so that that relationship, that friendship, as hard as it may have been, that it can help you to do better in the future. So that when you form a new friendship or get into another romantic relationship, that you are not going to repeat the mistakes. And if it is a situation where you've noticed that you have that pattern of continuously being in toxic friendships or toxic relationships, then it's even more important for you to take the time now to really assess what has been keeping you in those relationships, what draws you to those kinds of relationships, and then what you need to do in order to break that cycle. Because every cycle can be broken, but it takes work. It's not going to be easy because you're in your comfort zone. You are naturally gravitating to those kinds of people for some reason, whether it be that you have a low self-esteem and you believe that that's the kind of treatment that you deserve, or whatever reason it might be. It will help to figure out why you gravitate to those people, but even more so, it will help you to then decide what you can do going forward to not repeat it. And a big part of that process is being able to forgive yourself for allowing that situation to happen. So forgiving yourself for staying that long, forgiving yourself for accepting the treatment that they gave to you, forgiving yourself for trusting them when they didn't deserve to be trusted. And I'm not going to go too in depth with forgiving yourself here because in the video that I mentioned, which I will link above, I spoke a lot more in depthly about why we should forgive ourselves and the power of forgiving ourselves. So I'm not going to repeat too much of it here, but I do want to encourage you to check out that video if you're struggling with self-forgiveness. All right, so you've gotten to the point where you're working on forgiving yourself and you want to prevent yourself from repeating the same mistakes, because a big thing that can hold us back from forgiving ourselves is when we see a pattern, when we see that we continue to do the same thing over and over again. It's easier to forgive yourself if you trip one time. When you find yourself tripping every day, then you start to think, I'm stupid, I'm worthless, I just cannot do the right thing. And then it's very hard to forgive yourself. But that is also deeply rooted in having a low self-esteem. I also have a full video where I speak about self-esteem, so I'm not going to go too in-depth with it here either. But what I will say is that you need to have a strong sense of self. You need to value yourself and who you are as a person and see that you are not your mistakes, that you are not defined by the decisions that you have made, as bad as they may have been, or as silly, or whatever word you're going to use to describe the decision. So by building up your self-esteem and valuing yourself more, it will be much easier for you to forgive yourself, because you're not going to judge yourself fully off of this one decision that you made. You're going to see the decision in the grand scheme of things, that you are someone who is valuable, someone with purpose, someone who has a lot that they can do in this world, but you made a mistake, or but you have this downfall. You have this area in your life that needs work, and that's fine because none of us are perfect. So we're all going to have areas that we need working. So maybe for you, you struggle with identifying the right people for your life, the people that you should have in your life. But that doesn't mean that you cannot forgive yourself from it. It doesn't mean that you cannot grow from it, that you cannot change into a different type of person in that regard. And having a high self-esteem will really help you with that, because you'll be able to separate the two. So I encourage you to work on building up your self-esteem. You can check out my self-esteem video and see if there are any points in there that will help you in terms of what you can do to increase your self-esteem and increase the way that you look at yourself, the way that you value yourself. But even if you don't take the time to look at that video, I want you to know now that you are valuable, that you have purpose, that you have worth. And even if you made all the bad decisions in the past, and you dated all the wrong people, or you had all the wrong friends who led you down the wrong streets, and you're now in a position where you've made a lot of bad decisions and you think really poorly of yourself, you still have value. You still have worth. So it's going to be hard, yes, because the way that our minds work is that we tend to focus on the negative. We tend to give a lot of attention to the bad things that happen, and we ignore the positive. Even when we look at just the way the world is, there's a natural inclination to highlight the negative. So you may look at a newspaper article, and on the front page of that newspaper, you'll see a big thing, maybe about some drug bust or some terrible thing that happened. And then in the small corner, you're going to see some noteworthy thing with some person who accomplished something great at a university or at that job. And you wonder why it wasn't flipped. But it's because we have that natural tendency to just really emphasize the negative. So work on flipping the script. That's another thing that can really help you in forgiving yourself for those decisions. So instead of looking at all of the ways that you failed, look at the positive sides of it. Look at all the ways that you grew from it, all of the things that you learned from it, and how all of those things can make you a stronger person today, can help you to make better decisions today, can help you to be a better parent one day, because you have experienced so many things that you can then pass on to your children, your grandchildren. Even if you don't have children, you can pass on to other persons who are younger than you who can benefit from your life experiences. So don't look at those things as so terrible, because even if, yes, they may have been really, really terrible, look at them instead as something that you overcame and something that has made you into someone who is stronger and someone who is able to do so much more because you have experienced so much. Now, if it's a situation where you're trying to forgive yourself for something that has happened to you or something that you feel like you allowed to happen to you, that can be an extremely difficult one, because that one might go all the way back to childhood. Maybe as a young child, someone did something to you that you had no control over, but which is still plaguing you and affecting you to this day. Or maybe you felt helpless in a relationship simply because maybe you were not financially able to provide for yourself, or you felt like you were just not able to really assert yourself in that relationship, and you felt like a lot of things happened to you that you had no control over. Whatever it might be, that can be very difficult to forgive yourself for, because a large part of it involves another person. And so in order for you to fully forgive yourself in a situation like that, you will also be required to forgive that person. Now, I do intend to do a full video on the importance of forgiving others, so look out for that. But what I will say right now is that in order to fully forgive yourself, in order to really have that weight lifted off of your shoulders, you will need to also forgive that person. However, forgiving that person does not have to mean that you accept that person in your life. It does not have to mean that this person can now walk back into your life and be your friend. You do not have to have dealings with someone that you forgive. Forgiveness does not mean that you are suddenly going to be best friends with this person again, or y'all are going to be all chummy. But forgiveness is extremely important in order to just release all of the hurts and all of the baggage that you hold on to, all of the offense. In order to really be able to let go and move forward, you are going to need to forgive that person, whoever that person was, whether it's a parent who treated you really poorly as a child, or a teacher, or a spouse, or a partner, or a friend, whoever it may have been, that you felt treated you in a way that was totally unfair and which you did not have any control over or much control over, then you forgive them. And you also forgive yourself by reminding yourself that you did not have control over the situation. There was nothing you could have done. Sometimes people are abused and they hold on to so much unforgiveness towards themselves because they think that they did something to deserve that they did something to cause that person to speak to them that way, or to hit them, or to ill-treat them. But there is nothing that you could ever do that causes you to deserve another person to treat you in a manner like that. If you have been ill-treated in some way or the other, and that is something that you're really struggling with, then please know that it is not your fault, that there's nothing that you could ever do that justifies or gives someone a right to treat you unkindly. People choose to treat people in ways that are unkind, but that does not mean that the other person or the recipient of that treatment is deserving of that treatment. So that's where the self-forgiveness comes in, where you remind yourself that you didn't deserve that treatment. But then you also need to forgive that person. Because if you don't let that person go, you're still going to have that load on your back. You're still going to be holding on to it. And you're not going to be able to free yourself from it and truly walk in your purpose. Truly experience all of the wonderful things that God has created you for. So don't let other people, and I know that it's so easy to say that and way harder to do it, but do it, try your hardest to not let other people have power over you and over your life and over your destiny. Because you have so many great things that I know that you can do. Yes, I may not know you, but I believe in you. And that might sound really weird, but trust me, I do believe in you. The fact that you took the time to watch this video says that you want to make a change in your life. You want to be able to put down the load. You want to be able to get past this point that you're in your life. And that is admirable. So take your time and take it step by step. It's not going to be a one-time thing. You don't just say, okay, I forgive, and you forgive. No, I wish it worked like that. But it takes time. It is so hard, both when you're forgiving yourself and when you're forgiving others. But it is possible. As a believer, when you go to Christ and you ask Him to forgive you, knowing that God forgives you for all the crazy things that we do and think and say, and notwithstanding that, we are taught that if we don't forgive others, then God is not going to forgive us, and that God forgives us in the way that we forgive others. And so that is extra motivation to me to forgive people and to forgive myself, because I want God to forgive me. I don't want to be walking around with all these burdens on my shoulder, and I don't think that you do either. So I really hope that this video will help you to be able to get to that point of self-forgiveness, as well as being able to forgive anyone who may have hurt you and who has you in this place where you're feeling really down and out about yourself and your situation. And remember that nothing lasts forever. So even if you're in that position right now, where you haven't been able to leave that bad relationship, or someone is still treating you unfairly or unkindly, no, it is not too late. It is a season in your life, but it is not your entire life. So don't allow it to define you. Leave a comment down below and let me know if you found this video helpful to you, if it resonated with you in any way. And please like the video if you found it helpful, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Turn on post notifications so you'll be notified every time I post, because I post these Nezzle Talks as well as vlogs every week. So once you have your notifications turned on, you'll always be notified when I post. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.